That should be good.
In the words of Busta Rhymes, ya 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 ya.
Damn. I might have to listen to Busta Rhymes on the way home.
Oh, I won't sing anymore. We'll get sued. All right. We should probably start this show.
Quite good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warning is for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we pick up that piece of pop culture you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes.
Home of the finger guns. Pow, 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 pow.
Brock is firing off the finger guns over here. Say hi, Brock.
Hello. Pow, pow.
And I'm... Pew, 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 pew. I'm Dan.
Pew, pew.
And, speaking of bullets and things, we're covering a movie. Again, this is another movie that was recommended to us by one of our YouTube subscribers, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from 1966, BBC's The War Game. This is a short film.
It's an hour long. It's more of an information.
46 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And some change, I think.
Yeah, it's more of an informational document,
yes.
you know?
Totally.
Not like Threads.
No.
Which Threads, this was basically like an extension of Threads, but more involved with what was, a little bit closer, to the action. This was more like, newsreel type footage and shit like that. You know, this is what's going to happen when this happens. This is what's going to happen when this happens. And it has like, what do you call them? Scrolls. They kind of go through and they'll quote something and they'll talk about something, kind of going through.
Right. This is more like a documentary almost. Yeah.
Won an Academy Award.
It did.
That's fucking crazy.
Academy Award winning show.
Yes. Academy Award for... Okay, so basically the film was supposed to be broadcast... God, what was it? That year, they were doing like a whole like.
Was it supposed to be broadcast in '65 and it was out in '66? Was that the?
Yeah. The BBC backed off. They were like, no, we're not going to do this one.
Well, it's pretty. Especially at the time, I bet it would have been fairly intense. You know what I mean?
It was like deemed pornography almost. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was so bad, and I could see why, because they really did. They filmed it in Kent. Where was it?
It was a couple places, actually.
In the Kent towns of Tonbridge, Gravesend, Chatham, and Dover.
Chatham?
Is it Chatham?
I don't know. It is in Illinois.
I'm pretty sure it's Chatham, right?
Well,
right.
Dude, let's be real. If there's a Berlin and a New Berlin.
New Berlin. Burlington.
There's a lot of towns in like the Midwest that there's an Athens. No, but it's not Athens. What do they call it? No, they call it Athens.
Athens?
And I'm like, you know why that town's named that, right?
Dudes, please.
There's a lot of towns like that. Anyways, we're digressing.
Yeah. Well, it did
haven't
win.
even started yet. And we're getting crazy.
It did win the 1967 Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature.
Yes.
Because it was real.
Right.
It looked real. They really they had a lot of those first person shots where they would show, they would be asking questions like, "What do you think we should do?" And they're like, "Well, I think we should do this." So it looked like it was something that could really happen because they brought in that real world feel to it.
Sure.
So yes, they had the data for it. And when I say the data, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they reference that constantly throughout the whole thing to kind of give you the sense of, this is what happened when this happened. This is what happened when this happened, and this is going to lead to this. This is going to lead to this. And it was kind of like a well-documented paper. It was like a thesis.
That's kind of how all of Peter Watkins' movies are. Almost all his movies are in that style.
Okay.
Some of them are historical and like kind of docudramas, I guess, if you will.
Gotcha.
But almost all his movies are filmed that way. He was also very political. He made a movie based on the Kent State murders.
Ooh.
He actually, there was a quote from John Lennon, that him and Yoko Ono got. An interviewer, I think it was, asked, and I'm paraphrasing because I just read this a while back,
right,
when we were talking about, doing this.
Mm-hmm.
An interview asked, like, what event kind of sparked. I don't remember how it was phrased, but like something that impacted them. Right? They said they got this letter from Peter Watkins explaining how they needed to use their influence to promote peace. And like talked about all the stuff that's really going on in the world.
Right.
And he said they kept that letter for like 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we're like, well, I guess, we're going to do all we can. All there is love.
Yes.
And he's like, that was what brought us into, it was like getting I don't remember what the exact quote was. Something about peace. So like this is your passport or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
This is what you should do.
So that's super cool. You know what I mean?
They influence that whole loving.
And I destroyed that story because
yeah.
I know I wasn't saying whatever, wherever I read that.
Well, in this, it really does look. I mean, it's dated as fuck. It's going to be,
dude.
It's very,
1966.
it's very guerrilla.
BBC,
yeah. And it's just, live on the street. Here you go. And the version that they have on, because it's available to stream through the Internet Archive.
Correct.
And from there, that's where we watched The Day the Earth Caught Fire.
Correct. Which was another YouTube commenter's recommendation.
And this one,
Threads.
I like this one because, I really like the way that the British people were like, screw it. You guys no, we're not going to fucking play with this shit.
Right.
We're going to let you know how it really would be, and then you have Threads. I mean, come on. One of the scariest movies ever,
right?
And then you have this to where this was its predecessor. And then you think that they went into a little bit more, they personalized this for Threads, I think,
right.
This was more of like, hey, here's a document of what could happen. We're going to tell you from beginning to end and why it would. And then in Threads, they were like, okay, this is happening. So this is what's going to happen with that. Quinn, get down. But yeah, what was really surprising to me about this one is they were talking about South Vietnam.
Yeah.
Which at that time, 65, 66, the war was just really heating up. I think they were.
Yeah, I mean, it was happening.
It was still going. I mean, when was the Gulf of Tonkin? I don't even know. But I know that in 59, that was one of the very first anything that happened with that war. We've been involved with it since then.
Right.
So what's really crazy about this is they were talking about how the Chinese invaded South Vietnam. Right. And the Americans basically are going to use their tactical nuclear warfare. I mean, what? For that? Maybe it would have ended it faster and there wouldn't have been however many deaths.
The Tonkin incident was 64.
64? Yeah. Okay. So it's just right there at that.
So I mean, but you had but even leading up to that, so that was heating up. There were things happening. but what was the Cuban Missile Crisis was 62.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's like a lot of buildup, and plus
Yeah.
we had like
The Red Scare.
the big Cold War going on.
Yeah. Yeah, the Cold War was just heating up.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Whoa, it was just freezing over. I will say that putting something in a context like this does make it scarier.
Oh, sure.
It does make it
Makes
more...
it seem more real.
Exactly. And I think this really did a great job overall being informative.
Right.
How they were... well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I don't want to kind of overdo it.
Sure.
So we got Peter Watkins was the director. He wrote it.
He did
produced it.
He did a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that was all his movies were very much that way. The cinematographer, you might know he was the director of photography for like Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Empire Strikes Back, Mars Attacks.
Wow.
That's Peter
Shashitsky.
Yeah. And he's won cinematography awards. I think he's worked with John Borman.
David Cronenberg.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Tim Burton.
Wow.
Yeah, he's worked with some folks.
But that's so crazy because this is grittier. This
Well, of
is
course.
not a wide scope. It's a very insular, like...
It's 1965, and
Yeah.
that's what the director wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fucking crazy, though.
But I think that guy was interesting. The Peter Watkins. He just seemed like he hired for that movie I was talking about. What was it called? It was like what, the Kent State movie.
Oh, okay.
But he hired non-actors, and he got people that really had the same viewpoints as like the police, and really had the same viewpoint as the protesters.
Okay.
And to the point where they thought there could be violence during the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, that's amazing. That's great thinking right there. Like, I can save some money, but I'm going to get a visceral reaction. You know what I mean? So even though they can't act, it's not based on individuals. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I like this guy's thinking, you know? And I know we had talked like a while back about doing something on British directors. I don't know if this guy would make the cut because he just did a certain kind of movie.
Yeah.
Punishment Park was that movie.
That's what it was, because I was
Yeah.
kind of looking at it like, damn. Need
So-
to find that one, yeah.
It's cool that he has a vision and a way of thinking, right?
But it's
and then he had
realistic.
a great cinematographer with him.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's gritty and it's not, you know, again.
It wasn't wide scope. It's not John
Right,
Ford.
right.
It's just not going to be. Which was really cool because of the information that they give you.
Right.
They tell you the type of bombs, how things are going to, hurt you, shit like that. It's just really cool. And at 44 minutes, I could see that taking over 44 minutes of an hour of TV. You know what I mean?
Right.
With the rest of it being commercials. No problem. Like, hey, this isn't real. But imagine seeing this as a kid in 85.
Right.
Because they didn't run it. Because they were like, no, this is too much.
Right.
We're going to run this. And they ran it in 85. So that was still at that point of the Cold War where people were putting that voice out there.
Right.
The day after.
Yeah.
Threats, freaking Testament.
Right. And I don't know. I think another thing that it sounds, and again, I didn't grow up in Britain and I wasn't even alive when this came out.
Yeah.
But it seems like the guy that narrated, there was a couple of them, but one of them was the main guy was a broadcast newsreader. So he's probably a voice like that resonated with people without them even knowing,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
even if they didn't recognize the voice, which they probably did. I'm not saying they didn't, but
Right.
psychologically that would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like having
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Walter Cronkite,
Peter Jennings.
Yes. Hi, I'm Peter Jennings. Carson
Brett
Daly.
Mutzberger. Wait, that's something different. Carson Daly, get out of here. Adam Carolla.
Yeah. But okay, are you ready to get into the movie?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't really say it's a movie, but it is.
It is. It's,
Yeah.
Again, a short film,
Yeah.
a short docudrama.
So they just basically talk about how the Chinese have invaded South Vietnam, and this is what's going to happen. So we're using the tactical nuclear, whatever we're going to do, right? And the Soviets and the East Germans threatened to invade West Berlin.
Right.
So they say they were going to get in there and they were going to fucking take it out, right? And so if the U.S. doesn't withdraw that decision, basically they were going to do that, right? So basically they have to go out there into the streets and tell the people, hey, this is going to happen. You know, so that's kind of like a lot of the perspective that you get is they do show people go into doors and be like, hey, civil defense. Right. You got to take this. You got to read this. You got to do this. They really kind of brought up what kind of food that they were going to have, how they were going to get the food, shit like that. So it was a huge national emergency for everything. Sure. And they got to look at that shit. And then they talk about price gouging. They talk about how basically one dude's like, so I was taking a loaf of bread to my house for my mom, and a guy came up to me and said he'd give me 1 pound for that loaf of bread. And I was like, well, I can't eat a pound. You know what I mean? Right. So it kind of goes there. And then they even talk about how if at a certain amount of time after it goes off, if you don't have fruit and shit like that, you're going to get fucking scurvy and shit. Sure. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, right?
Not now because we have vitamin C pills, but yeah.
Yeah. But back then, you had to have that. Yeah.
I'm sure they had some sort of vitamins. But...
Yeah. So, and then they were having these mass evacuations, but then also they were walking up to people's houses being like, you got to take more in. I don't give a shit. Right. You got to take more people in because they were hoping, and what they were really kind of saying is you need to stay indoors no matter what. This is what's going to happen. If you can't get out of this area, this is what you got to do. Right. So, of course, not a lot of people can fucking go anywhere. Right. There's just really no place to go to be safe on that part of it.
And that's where you're like, really, those people are fucked regardless.
Yeah.
Like knowing, I don't know if maybe that science wasn't quite as strong back then, but now we know. Yeah. Now that we've tested like 2,000 missiles.
Oh, shit. Fucking a lot.
Yeah. Whatever it was. I remember we talked about that number on the last show, actually.
Right.
But I think I don't remember what it was. It was like way more than I thought.
Yeah, me too.
200 or I don't remember.
I think we started at 200 and it was like fucking a lot more than that. It was like 2,000.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't recall right now.
Yeah, it's in the archives.
Yeah, we'll have to listen to that like you, listener.
But, okay, so basically... the sirens go off and they start telling how if you look at the blast, it's going to burn your retinas. Right. Completely. Like melt your retinas is how they refer to it. So they show the people it happening, and they even showed a little kid standing there like screaming because he looked at the fucking blast, right?
Why would you do that? Hurt your eyes, son.
Yeah, you're a 4-year-old out playing in the yard, and you're like, I don't know, what's that?
What?
Bright light.
Oh, no, I'm blind.
Oh, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Blind, radiation. Are you Daredevil?
Uh-oh. Maybe.
Now I know how to do it. Nuke me, kids.
See, and basically...
Sorry, that's not funny. Nobody should nuke anybody.
No.
That's not a good way to become a superhero.
So it was
You'll
on
get cancer and die if you don't just get blown to smithereens.
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
you're gonna get killed.
You're gonna be ash. Let's be realistic.
Well, those nuclear bombs back then,
maybe not.
If you were really close. So it's 18th of September, basically, right? And at 9:16, a 1 megaton. Megaton? It's about 2 megatones up from the other megatones.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. It's not 3 megatones down. A 1 megaton Soviet thermonuclear warhead overshoots the airfield where they're kind of around, right? And basically hits in the air about 12 miles away from it.
Okay.
So this is not
Explodes in the air.
Yeah, so it's not a detonation,
which
on
is
the
how
ground.
they're supposed to be, anyways.
Yeah,
that's how they're designed.
Yeah, and I mean it. So it's away, but 27 miles away, it affects people. So they say this is what it's going to be like if the sirens go off, and they're in a house. Right. So the air raid signs go off, and they show these people running into the house, right, shutting the doors, but then the light sets the drapes on fire and shit. So the dude's like trying to put that out, but yet at the same time, the shockwave comes like right after that, and
it's really the heat that caught not the light.
Yeah. And the shockwave comes and knocks everything, and so thousands are dead, just because of that. And then they start talking about how they're going to have to go find people, and they tell you how carbon monoxide poisoning would work with it.
Okay.
So they show people just walking and like dying in the streets.
Right.
You got severe burns. Like they even had one kid they said something like he's going to live the next 7 years in his bed, and then 2 years after that he's going to die or something. Like, I don't know. It was weird the way that they put it.
Yeah.
So basically, then you got the reality of that's just happened.
Right.
So that's just happened. You've already gone through rationing food. They can only give you a certain amount of this and this and this, and to help with even not just medicine, but help with before the bomb came and shit, right?
Sure.
And so they kind of get into it and really show how the dissenters will go after the cops, and the cops will go after them,
right?
Showing them people that they're just putting out of their misery. It's pretty graphic, right? Kids all messed up. They talk about a pregnant woman that lived through it, and she doesn't know if her baby's gonna come out alive or not.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's just
takes it from a lot of different directions.
Yes,
which is cool.
Yeah, and they have those the one-on-one shots where they're doing the interviews,
right?
And they're like, "Yeah, no, we're gonna get cancer, but I don't want to tell my wife this. I just want to see my kids grow up.
Right.
I want to see them live." And that's one guy. He's just like, "I just want my kids to be okay." Right. And they ask these kids, they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I couldn't really hear them, and it's like I was thinking, "Shit, alive."
Right. Right.
It's fucked up, right? But then you start seeing the effects of not only the sickness that everybody's going through, but it's the mental health of everybody,
right? Which
is fucking nuts too, because you would be having those mental issues, well, a lot worse than people are now working in retail. It's just really bad because you have no food. They even had a little old lady that was like, "We've had our tub full. We have to cook with it. We have to drink it. We have to do everything with it. And we're almost out."
Right.
Because it was from the tub, That's the only thing they had to freaking put water in,
That's crazy.
And to think about that reminds me of The Road,
Yeah.
Where he fills up he's like, "Fill up the fucking bathtub."
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. But there's so
it's
many.
A good movie, by the way.
Yeah. I've only watched it once because I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah, it's that kind of movie.
Yes. I don't know if I'm ready to.
Yeah, I've read some stuff. We'll get off. That's a different tangent.
Watch is telling me to stand.
Nah.
No, watch. So yeah, they show the effects that all of these people are having. All the people that are dying just in the streets, from the ones that were dying to begin with, and then the cops getting shot. That was the crazy part too. They were like, the first cop is shot at this point, because the first rioter is caught at this point and shot.
Right. And
they were showing these people actually getting, getting shot, quotes, air quotes, So again, just like Threads, but you don't have the one character that you're following. You're seeing it from the eye of the news.
Right.
I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're actually seeing it from the news cameras.
Right.
Of how it would be. And how they break in every once in a while and they're like, "Yo, this is, this data comes from this because this happened in Nagasaki.
Right.
And this and this and this and this.
Yeah, and when I said that they didn't know the science, what I mean was the people that were telling them to get in the house and gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Those people didn't know the science. Like this guy, he did his homework.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he went through everything that they had been learning since that time, since 45?
Right.
So they were really, really, really seeing how even something like that would destroy the whole entire city in fire. And the people that are trapped inside, they even had at one point, what did they say? That this family is burning alive inside this car that the firemen are trying to save.
Right.
Whoa. You don't really get to see it. So, I mean, people are, like I said, we're dying of, carbon monoxide poison and heat stroke and everything else because it was so fucking hot. And they were just breathing in smoke, and they were showing how they would just die in the streets.
Right.
Which is pretty fucking crazy. So they put it out on not a silver platter. They're like, hey, this is what's going to fucking happen.
Just laid it out there for you.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's pretty fucking scary to think that I wish that they would do this again in this kind of like, this is the way it would be if this happened.
Right.
I think a lot more people would pay attention.
Well, I mean, that's really what a lot of these movies have done, over time. Like we talked about The Day After and how like they played that in the Pentagon and then they played it for other countries too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's huge. Threads was the same way.
Yeah, Jason Robards actually, instead of Rocky, it was Jason Robards that ended the freaking war.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong.
It was very close. Steve Guttenberg had a hand in that too.
Here's what I've learned from all these movies. Just buy a Volvo.
No shit. Yes. That's all you got to do. If you have a Volvo, you're going to live.
May not want to.
No. Whoops.
Yeah. Ugh. I think that you're right, though. I think they should make a updated version of this, so that people can see more, like, especially with today's political climate, and everything going on. Yeah. Somebody needs to reality check those mugs real quick. And I know it's all, or what we're told anyways, I guess. But what I perceive is that it's all Russia, like as antagonizing.
Yeah.
And
no, I think to do this, to be in your fucking face.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Is really needed again. And even back then, I wasn't going to say easy. Even back then, it was so strong of a I don't know, presentation.
Right.
That they wouldn't show it. And it really did. I mean,
and yet course, Roger Ebert gave it a perfect score.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, he never does that for anybody. No. He fucking hated Gremlins. But
I'm glad we can laugh.
But and if they did it now, like, imagine an Avatar budget for a nuclear. I don't think
you would even need that for like a docu.
Yeah,
like something like the way it's built. I like the way it's built. You make it in your face, but with more. The effects would be. You could make some real, like what it would really be like, and you'd have, not that he didn't do great, but I'm just saying you would have more.
It's an
of a
updated,
budget. An updated version of it.
I mean, because The Day the Earth Caught Fire, cool. That was told from the paper's perspective.
Right.
This one was basically told in the style of a news magazine.
Like news, news TV almost.
Right. It's like, okay, this is what's happening in Kent. Right. Like, how are people going to watch TV?
Right.
Everything's gone. But the
people outside that radius are watching it.
Right. Yeah. Somebody else somewhere else.
Right.
But the Day the Earth Caught Fire was put in that really weird, like, I don't know. It was just, it was more of a drama type of a deal.
Well, and it wasn't
added
so
with
much like the
reality.
radiation and like all. It wasn't realistic,
Right.
Because it was about knocking the tilt of the Earth off of its axis,
Right,
You know,
right.
a little bit.
Yeah,
So it was a different kind of movie,
right. And they were going to test it to see if it went back.
right?
In this one, it was like, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Just like Threads was like, this is fucking going to happen.
It's happening. It's happening right now, and let's go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think all those movies that we kind of watch were kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Threads really does kick you in the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you watch The Day After, the American kind of like, it's fucking gung-ho, but no.
Yeah. No.
They took the American spirit and fucking stepped on it, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of showed...
And this is real. This
Yeah.
is what it would be like, you
yeah.
know?
And like by Dawn's Early Light, they kind of, they really have that feeling of what it would be like if you had your hand on the trigger.
Right.
So they told that aspect of it. And this one really does have like in the streets,
Right.
you know?
In the streets. In the streets, explosions.
And then you got Testament, which is like a fucking blow to the fucking skull with a claw hammer.
That
hurts.
is true. That is true.
It hurts. It hurts, but
I just remember that we did these. Of course, it was Thanksgiving, so it was all November, like the first three. And I just remember being like, I'm not doing any more of these.
yes.
Like, this is affecting my life.
It was pretty bad.
You know?
When I watched Threads, it killed me.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll rewatch it again. I'll watch Threads and I'll watch Testament, but I won't watch The Fucking Road or Pet Cemetery anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Not because it's not right. It's just, it's the subject matter that's in
Right.
it. That's what scares the shit out of me.
Right. Like with
And-
kids.
Yeah.
They scare the shit out of me. No.
Yeah. And Testament is one of those fucking, I don't know, it's a gut punch of reality to see that shit go and the way that they framed it. That's
Right.
why it was my like favorite one
Sure.
out of the three. And it's just such a fucking crazy.
Well, my favorite one out of three was just because like that's what I knew as a kid. Like it affected me deeply as a child. And Steve Gutenberg.
yeah. Yeah, right.
Can't
Well-
really argue with that.
Before we
The
watch, yeah, he wins. So literally, like this time, I watched I watched By Dawn's Early Light, James Earl Jones,
Yeah.
fucking wrecking to the fucking the Air Force One, do it, lean in, and he's like, yes, give me a fucking cigarette. Great movie.
Kill you, Kodak.
Powers Booth is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole fucking movie is pretty great. And that came at the very, very fucking end, the tail end of the Cold War.
Right.
It was like 89, 90 when it came out.
Yeah, so-
the wall was down.
Right.
You know, so it was, I don't know if it was filmed before that. It probably
Right.
was, of course. It was an
Mr.
HBO movie.
Gorbachev.
Yeah. Tear down that wall.
Down that wall.
And Jason Robards is like, yeah, I'm home. Like, no, Jason Robards.
Coming at you. Like
But-
a cobra.
But, and see, and
1,000 points of light. Sorry.
well, I started with that, and then I watched the last one, the Day the Earth Caught Fire, and then this one.
Like in a row?
Yeah, this,
What are you just like a masochist of some sort?
yeah, somewhat.
You're like, I gotta feel depressed and scared.
You know, and because I was looking for the first one, and then Dawn's Early Light came on, and I was, oh shit, well, I got to watch that.
Right.
So I watched it all the way through, and then the next week watched the other one a couple of times, and then
Nice.
this week watched this one a couple of times, and because most of the time, I mean, with the Internet Archive place, it's pretty badass. I mean, you can watch it as many times as you want to. This one's only been watched like 54,000 times.
I know, which is amazing, really.
Yeah, and the same way with the
Day of the Earth Caught Fire.
yeah.
Yeah, they weren't real big ones on there for sure.
Yeah, and it's a very niche kind of a deal, but yeah, it was something we all lived through.
Right.
And now with it being back, like we were talking the last time, being back in that weird imbalance.
Right.
And they're like, hey, guess what? Deals and steals. Would you like to get some Bobby Brown cosmetics? I'll show you how to get them next. The war in Ukraine.
All right.
What? What? So, yeah.
Well, the thing with this movie, too, is it seems like it's a lot packed into a short amount of time. Because it is a short film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very much a short film.
And the way that they portray what happened to society
Right.
is the truth.
Absolutely.
Panic buying. We went through that during the fucking goddamn COVID.
Right.
A sickness.
Yeah.
And we're still bouncing back from that. Think about all the shit that we've gone through in our lifetime.
Oh, absolutely.
And COVID, shit, they shut down the world for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever they did. They shut down the fucking world.
For like a year.
Yeah. Needless to say, I think it was great.
Well, I mean, I'm not happy about all the people dying, I guess.
No,
but,
hell no. It's over, what, how many millions now? Or 1 million people?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just crazy. But to see the same thing as we would act now.
Well, and you think, so in here to kind of dig even deeper on that, right? Our parents were alive when the bomb scares were going off, like in the what do I want to say, like where they had to get under the chairs and do the things.
Yeah, be a turtle.
Yeah. And we were at the tail end of that. I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember doing that, like real young,
Right?
You know, and now we could get to a point where our kids have to deal with that. I'm going to tell you, this is kind of off subject. I saw a picture. I don't remember if it was on Reddit. Don't remember where. I look at a lot of stuff pretty quickly.
Right.
Like I don't get a lot of time for it, so I'm like, oh, that.
Yep.
And it was a picture from a place that we exploded during the first Iraq War, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it was handprints on this wall, burnt into this wall like black, from where we killed, like we had a missile strike and killed some civilians.
And it literally like evaporated them.
Right. And their handprints are there now forever.
Yeah.
You know, unless somebody goes and does something about it. But,
yeah, it's just like in Hiroshima and Nagasaki where they have the shadow people that are still there because it was so hot.
Exactly. But I'm thinking, like, that's just crazy to me, you know what I mean? And not crazy to me that the U.S. bombed civilians, let's be real, you know what I mean?
Yeah. My lie. You got so many different things that go with that.
Sure.
And this came right before, like I said, or kind of we were talking about how Vietnam was really
heating up.
Really was. It really, really, really was. And they kept sending more people and more people and more people and more people, you know?
Yeah.
Instituting the draft and everything like that. And then they weren't even thinking about nuclear at that.
Right.
This was a guerrilla war, you know, it was the big Vietnam conflict.
Yep.
Which is crazy to think that went through there right afterwards, right? And then they pivoted to the Cold War. Right. Hey, we're still in it. Hey, listen, stop. So it's hard. It's hard to think of a world without that.
Right.
And it's like they're bringing it back. Let's bring it back to the people. Take it back.
You know what we haven't done in a while? Scared the shit out of everybody.
Keep them in line.
People are getting soft.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what it feels like a little bit.
It's the way that shit's going. It could go this way.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Sure.
They're all talking about like the dirty bombs and shit like that because that's what they really need to. I would love to see, but you know, I would like to see them get really real with a destruction, not like an ID4 destruction,
right?
But something like that.
Like, I think that we saw some really good in these movies. You know, specifically, we've seen some really good. This is what it would look like, right? Mm-hmm. But I agree that I think that really what you could play up even more than that, because like didn't they get some award or some kudos for this movie for the firestorm
think so.
But at any rate, doesn't matter. What I would like to see is like the really showing the destruction more, showing the more realistic of what would happen afterwards.
Right.
And not that this isn't realistic, but just like, with what's going on with people's bodies, things like that.
Yeah. Skin falling off, shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they have kind of gotten into that, and then now that we're talking about this, they came out with a new 3 Mile Island show.
Oh yeah,
on Netflix, and I watched the first one. And to think about that, you're like, God damn! Why?
We had that Chernobyl show a few years ago too,
and Chernobyl was a great show.
Yeah,
it was a great show. Thinking about all that shit right there with the things that was more real because they really were showing what it was like to be there. They didn't really kind of hold back.
Right.
They did in a way, they didn't show all the flesh falling off and weird shit like that. But if they did show the destruction from that part of it, just like Threads or just like The Day After, because they were in the shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were really in the crap there, especially Threads.
Yeah.
It really kind of got you.
Yeah,
and this was there.
Sure.
So it was like, you put these together, that's a pretty crazy movie. You kind of have them overlapping or even mixing them together.
That's what I was getting ready to say, where it was like the story of Threads is going on and this is what is being portrayed to the outside world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because in Threads, it wasn't explosions all over the place. It wasn't taking out the entire Earth.
No. Just like this was only in that one spot and how it affected that area. Yeah. So you could interweave these and kind of...
I mean, you would change the narratives a little bit, but yes.
Well, I don't know. Even if you put these together.
Right.
These actual two movies, Threads and this.
Well, I just don't remember where exactly Threads took place. It wasn't in Kent.
No.
You know what I mean? So those are the little things you would change, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because don't they mention that in this movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
so you just have to line those things up.
Yeah, somehow, you see that part of it, and then you get to see, like, the real. So anything that's on the TV is the black and white, and you kind of have it going through it. And then you have the actual Threads movie portraying what's happening outside of the newsreels,
Absolutely.
The news program. Somebody, hey, that's a
get after it.
That's a fucking challenge right there.
Yeah.
If I had copies of these, I would probably think about doing it for real.
I want to, but don't want to watch that movie. I do want to shout out real quick Matthew David Bowron. He was our commenter.
Nice.
That recommended this.
Where's he from?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't stalk people like that. He seems like a guy that's just like one. I did read his little YouTube like about thing. He seems like he's just a guy that wants to learn about people and how they look at things.
Nice.
Seems like a cool dude.
And that's what this shit is right here.
Yeah.
There's common threads with everything, honestly, and that wasn't really kind of put that way.
Pun not intended.
And it's a testament to The Day After.
Oh, yeah. Let's see what you did there. By Drone's early light, we should probably have an answer.
Yes.
About this war game.
We did it.
Okay.
Man, imagine doing the Super movie from the 80s.
War games?
And mixing this one, Threads, and fucking The Day After all together in a series.
You could do it.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to, but you could do it.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, do you really want to? Let's do it. Fuck it. No, I enjoyed it for that.
Sure.
And again, there's a little bit of me that is still enamored with nuclear weapons.
Sure.
I don't know what it is. There's just something in me that is not attracted to it, but it is
interesting to you.
Enamored. Yeah. I've watched, the movies about them exploding the first one, everything like that.
Well, I think I mentioned as a kid, that was something that really scared me. You know, in the 80s, early 80s. But I got to a certain point where I was like, fuck it. Like, I can't control that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are dumb, and they make weapons that'll destroy all of us. And realistically, it just takes one crazy motherfucker to be like, you know what? It's over. Yeah. It's fine. You want to mess around? And I think, like, the country that has the least amount has enough to, like, wipe out all of, like, civilization for the most part. You know what I mean? So
why?
It only takes a few.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I always think, like, well, they have more than us, or we have more than... Who cares?
Yeah.
Everybody's got enough to destroy the world like 50 times over.
Yeah.
You know, or at least the top two, you know?
And they're still making them bigger. Yeah. What the fuck? You're going to destroy the Earth in one go? Yeah, it just lands in the Horn of Africa or something, and kills everything.
Right.
I mean, fucking coral reefs are dying.
Right.
You know, there's so many different problems in this world that I don't know, maybe that's why...
want money, resources on things where we could just be fixing...
everything.
And not just fixing, but like...
exploration.
You know, like exploring our ocean we've never been to the bottom of?
Yep.
That'd be super cool.
Exploring space.
Yeah.
The
final frontier.
There's so much here. I mean,
I just think of the investment. Okay, so like if you just took our budget, just the U.S., and I'm only speaking as an American citizen or United States citizen.
Right.
Shout out to Canada and Mexico.
Yes.
Also American.
North America.
North American, yeah. But as a U.S. person, you know, a person from the United States, forgot I got off a tangent there. I remember what I was going to say now.
If we concentrated the money.
Oh yeah, if we took just the budget from our nuclear weapons, let's say, missiles, whatever, and put that into one, not just fixing the environment, but sustaining
life,
everything.
Yeah,
like everybody talks about how desalination of water is very expensive. Is it more than the nuclear budget?
No.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Is it more than just our Black Ops portion of the budget that we don't even know about?
Yeah.
No.
No.
You know, so things like that, and installing solar and doing all those things. I'm not going to get into the infrastructure and all the awesome things we could really do with it. I'm just talking about holistic things as a world.
Right.
So that's just our country.
Imagine everywhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Russia.
Right.
Or
like New Zealand.
Yeah, come on. Jesus Christ.
And all those missiles they have.
I mean, Australia could be like the beacon of freaking energy, you know? In a way, you know what I mean?
I don't really know what their defense budgets are. I know we're ridiculous.
Ugh.
And that's the reason and I'm not saying that other countries aren't, but I mean, I just know the math on ours, and it's stupid.
They just approved another trillion something.
Yeah.
I mean, into the defense budget?
The problem is that whatever money they're putting into it, know that it's probably that and a half. Because there is a black budget that nobody else sees.
Yep.
You know, not even the government, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they approve it for Black Ops project or black projects, but they don't know what it's going towards.
Right. Yeah. Somebody's got the money.
You know what I mean?
Somebody's just getting the money.
Yeah. And building something to kill a bunch of people, great.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I get the idea. I was in the Army. I understand that we have to have a defense.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're like, I feel like we could have had that Star Wars system that Reagan talked about, how we put money into that. And that's a better use of our money than creating more ways to kill people.
Or more TV channels.
Well, I'd rather them create TV channels and more ways to kill people.
I know.
At least the Star Wars system was about stopping missiles.
Have you seen a map of all of the satellites that are in our orbit right now? It looks like fucking Wall-E. You know
it's crazy,
like
dude.
moving shit out the way.
There's an app where you can actually not just satellites, but you can watch like the space junk. Like you can see it, not see it, but you can see like a graphing of it. You know.
There's like bolts and shit. Just like, whoops. What do you mean, whoops? Over. Uh-oh. What do you mean? Uh-oh.
Pretty soon we'll be, encased in iron.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks, Tony.
Again, if we put that money into there, we would end a lot of things.
A lot of things. And think about, like, educationally, you think about, making sure people can live without, there should be no third world countries at this point.
No.
You know what I mean?
But we're the richest third world country now. Yeah, it is fucking nuts. And you would think that
here's the problem is it's all
this.
ideological.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like communism's great. And all that's a hybrid of what it was once anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Capitalism, democracy is the best. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You do your thing over there. We're not going to bother you.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to do what we do. And everybody just try to stop expanding for a while and just let people live.
Yeah, why not?
There's nowhere to expand anymore.
No.
And no, you can't have Taiwan back.
Yeah. But you also look at some Americans that have like portions of land that they own that is like a corner of a fucking state. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Hundreds and thousands of acres. People own that shit.
It's generally not people. It's a conglomerate, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
generally.
But you see what I'm saying? I mean, we're still greedy with land.
Well, yeah. It's true.
No.
But I think one thing that we do well as a country, and I'll always, and I don't know whether he was a good guy or whatever, but like, I think it was mostly Teddy Roosevelt that really drove home like the national parks and things like that, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, no, that needs to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've done well as a country.
And now they're dismantling that.
They're thinking,
hard. Nah, we don't really need that.
Just 1,000 acres, go develop. No, I agree with that.
Put another fucking shopping mall, another Sephora.
No, they're not going to put in another shopping mall. Come on.
Well,
it's going to be a plaza.
Yeah. It's going to be an outlet mall.
Right.
Yeah, this is a Sears outlet. What? Sears is still around?
It's right next to Montgomery Ward's.
But it's just, they even say it in this too, how we are still mentally like in the Stone Age. Compared to we're
100%.
light years ahead of anybody in technology.
Right. Well, and that's exactly it. Like that Stone Age, that doesn't go away.
No.
That bravado, that male. And I say male because I really think that's where the aggression comes from, the territorialness, right? Or at least that's what's dominated. Males have dominated that space for the most part. Mm-hmm. But that's intrinsic. Almost to people, you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, there are people who are enlightened and they don't feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
But those people aren't generally in charge.
No. They get laughed at.
Because the thing is those people don't desire any sort of power.
Right.
Right? So if you don't desire the power, you're not going to run for president.
No. You're not going to look for it.
Right.
It's just fucked up. Everything is. And to think that we've had this and we have not looked at that and said, why? And gotten together.
Right.
I mean, I always like to think of 5-1 because we could change everything because there's more than 5-1.
Right.
When it comes to this. How many Oprahs are there? One?
Yeah.
How many of us are there? Way more than one.
Right.
It's fucking, why does she need to have all that money? And why does Bill Gates and everybody like that?
Well, and then people will fight you about capitalism.
Right. Good job. Way to go. You had money to start with, or they had nothing, but then they built that money and built that money and built that money. And
it's just, it's the taxing really is what bothers me about it, is that those people don't get taxed correctly.
Yeah.
You know?
And then they're the ones that have the protections for a nuclear attack.
Yeah, in Missouri, those caves.
There you go.
That's a real thing. By the way, check that out.
Well, there's also the fucking wampum mines.
Well, this is an installation that was built
for that.
Yes.
A lot of doomsday shelters are coming up.
Yep. And a lot of times they're in the middle of nowhere, you know? Because I want to say that this is in the rural, it's like not in Springfield, Missouri, but it's like towards that. Like that's country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where you can get bit by a copperhead, you know?
Yeah, but they're building fucking Planet of the Apes societies underneath that
Right,
shit,
of
you know?
course.
Worshiping the bomb.
But the reason they do that, there's no strategic locations near it. Land's super cheap by comparison.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Think about around the Denver airport.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that.
There's some things. There's some things. And you can always tie everything together
Sure.
with the right amount of massaging. You're like, oh, that does look like a swastika. No, it doesn't. That was a fucking painting. But if you think about all that land that surrounds it, next time you drive out there, because I know you've driven out there more than a dozen times, it's just wide open.
Oh, of course.
So
it
if
is.
you think if they had a central location to ship all the rich people, right, and they come down there and they're underground all the way to all their shelters that are underneath the mountains and everything, because there's,
and I'm sure there is something like that. I don't know if it's at the Denver airport, because I really do think that thing is in Missouri, because I watched the whole documentary.
oh yeah, no,
and we drove into some caves, but that was not in the same caves.
right,
But I think that also you tend to keep an area around an airport really flat so that you can expand the airport.
yeah, right.
As things
Of
go
course,
forward.
of
So I
course,
think,
yeah.
and I'm not saying that's a whole nother show. We could do a whole conspiracy show on DIA, and we'll get there. I'm
Yes,
sure.
eventually.
Yeah, but yeah. So again, I don't want to get too much into the politics of it, but at the same time, like, it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, then there's, as George Carlin said, right? There's a reason they're all shaped like penises.
There is.
And it all started with, do you worship God?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
you're
no?
cool. Yes.
Crack him in the head with a stone. Do you worship my God? Fuck you.
Well,
Now we have to throw our penises around.
yes. Now we have to shape everything like a
I
penis.
paraphrase George Carlin. in that.
We shoot shit that's shaped like a penis.
That's right. But I think that kind of wraps it up on this. What do you think, Brock?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think another reason why I'm tied to this is because, of course, they detonated the very first bomb on my birthday.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, not when I was born, of
It was
course.
like,
you
wow,
know,
you're old, dude.
Like 30 years before that.
He's the nuclear man. The atomic boy.
So I've always wanted to go to that
Right.
site, Trinity or whatnot.
Sure.
Go take a look at that in Alamogordo or whatnot. I don't know. It just is something that I've always been enamored with. So
Yeah. But I don't never really had any desire to see those things. Like, I actually just had a conversation with my father-in-law, and he said that he went to Normandy.
oh yeah,
And, you know, like, part of that land's given to the U.S. As, like, you know, a shrine or whatever. And there's, like,
Gotcha.
all these white crosses where people died and all that, you
Gotcha.
know. Or, like, my stepfather went to Auschwitz. I have no desire to see any of that. I know they happened.
Yeah.
I don't need it to feel any more real than it already
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Because it's already real.
Yeah.
It happened.
Well,
you know?
the only reason why I would go to like that because it's a test site. It's just out in the middle of fucking nowhere. You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, they only let certain people. They have certain times where they let people through there. Right. So it's not. I don't even think it's every year they do that.
If I got to go somewhere, it'd be like that S4 site or whatever where Bob Lazar worked. And Bob Lazar?
Bob Lazar.
Yeah. The UFO guy, the scientist that worked at supposedly the site off of Area 51.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'd go.
Yeah.
Like, give me unfettered access, I'm going there first.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody else would say Area 51. That's wrong. That's smokescreen. Son.
Yeah. It's everywhere else.
That's right. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I digress again.
Again. Okay. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So with that, yeah, hit us up on dropculture.com or leave us a comment on whatever, you know, format you want, YouTube.
If they send Telegram, send it to us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That
We'd
would be
love to get a
fucking
Telegram.
awesome.
Everybody loves to get mail, dude.
I know.
It's great.
Even whenever you open it and it's shit.
Yeah, you're like,
"Whoa."
oh, I got mail.
I always used to like grabbing the mail that my parents didn't want.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay! Now I try to give it to my son. And he's like, I ain't gonna throw that shit away.
Nobody cares about mail anymore.
No, should.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
hit us up at all of those socials everywhere. If you have another movie like this recommendation,
And even if it's not like this, if you just have a movie that you feel fits the drop culture theme, feel free to let us know. You can let us know in all those places. Just comment on YouTube. Whatever's clever for you.
whatever works.
That's right.
Yeah, because we're always gonna try to find those little niche things.
That's right.
That's what drop culture does.
That's right.
God damn it.
Wow. He's emphatic about that.
I think my weed's wearing off.
Tell him goodbye, Brock.
Later, dudes.
Peace.
I think it would be cool to intertwine those. Don't you?
Oh yeah, that'd be super cool if I had like time and like.
Yeah, time.
Because realistically, I could probably pull those videos off of the internet if